Samsung's newest flagship goes up against one of the benchmarks of Android. It's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is the Samsung Galaxy S7 versus the Nexus 6P. Now, while the Galaxy S7 doesn't feature a major overhaul in its design, it does provide a lot of refinements to what was already established in last year's S6. We still have the glass panels with the metal frame, but this time around, curves have been added to the back, almost as if Samsung took a shrink ray to the Galaxy Note 5. But those curves really make it feel incredibly nice in the hand, and there are a couple of refinements in the little bits and pieces around as well. The camera hump on the back has been significantly reduced, so you're not going to be scratching that camera lens, or glass rather, if you're going to be dragging the phone across the surface, and the home button up front is actually a little bit more flush to the front. But larger screens will still be the crown for the Nexus 6P, as this particular design is not one that we've necessarily seen a whole lot of before, and it feels really fresh, especially since its inception. The 5.7-inch screen pretty much dictates what the handling will be like on this mostly metal body, and the black bar on the top of the backing is one that was a little bit controversial to some people, as they weren't sure how it would really look, but in the flesh it actually looks really nice to us, and we really enjoy the design of the Nexus 6P. The fingerprint reader area on the backing is right next to the Nexus logo, and overall this is pretty much the somewhat bare bones device that you would expect Nexus to have, but you still get dual front-facing speakers, which are incredible to have on this phone. Huawei has done a great job with the Nexus 6P, and it provides a bit of a benchmark for what kind of high-end design you could get with an Android smartphone, and in this case we have stock Android underneath. But first, let's take a look at the displays. We have Quad HD displays really ruling the day here, and in the case of the Galaxy S7, it is on a 5.1-inch display. And with the curves on the back, it still actually feels like a smaller device than just 5.1 inches, and we think that's pretty awesome. 5.7 inches is what you get in the Nexus 6P, and its Quad HD display is actually also AMOLED, so you get a similar color punch in both of the displays this time around, and we enjoy both pretty much, and it should be good for all media, games, and text. And while the Samsung Galaxy S7 gets the benefit of being the later introduced flagship model, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Nexus 6P is going to fall behind all that much. The Snapdragon 810 in the 6P has provided great performance, and it is very smooth with Android Marshmallow in the stock iteration, really showing what kind of speed and smoothness you can have in stock Android. But on the other hand, the Galaxy S7 is still something we have to put through its paces, and we do think that it is moving along quite nicely with the Snapdragon 820 or perhaps the Exynos 8890 in other markets. But it's in hardware that things tend to change up a bit. The first thing we'll talk about is the Nexus 6P's front-facing speakers, and they provide great sound, definitely a lot better than the bottom-mounted speaker of the Galaxy S7, only because of its placement, but also its stereo construction. From there, the Galaxy S7 gets a bit of a trump card, as it has now dust and water resistance in its body. Even though this body is very similar to last year's Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge, now we are able to allow the phone to have a tumble or even go into a splash, and it will still be able to go along without any problems. The Nexus 6P is not able to boast that, and it is also not able to boast another feature that is returning to the Galaxy S7, expandable storage. The fingerprint readers are also supposed to be pretty good performers. Only on the Nexus 6P it is available on the back, and when a finger is laid onto that area, it will unlock and wake the phone at the same time. On the other hand, the home button is still needed in order to wake up the Galaxy S7, but it should work pretty well as well if it is anything like last year's S6. And in battery, the Galaxy S7 now comes with a large 3000 mAh battery, which is a much needed upgrade, and it is charged with fast charging, wireless charging, and micro USB. The Nexus 6P on the other end has a 3450 mAh unit, putting it a little bit closer to the S7 Edge in terms of the capacity, but it is also fast charged by USB Type-C, which is the standard that has not been adopted yet by Samsung. Coming into the cameras, we actually have a similar philosophy between these two, as the Nexus 6P was one of the phones to make a big deal about it sporting larger pixels overall inside of its 12.3 megapixel camera. Now that camera comes with a f2.0 aperture and has a 1.5 micron sensor, which allows it to have good performance in low light situations, and we definitely saw that. The S7 this time around takes that type of lead, now has a 12 megapixel camera and has f1.7 in its aperture, with the sensor sporting 1.8 1.4 micron pixels, which is also supposed to give it the same type of performance that has benefited the 6P. Now, of course, we have to put these two phones through their paces, and we'll do a camera shootout to see if these somewhat similar cameras actually bring the kind of quality that you would need. But looking at the applications, it is obvious that the Google camera still needs a little bit more control over the photos, but overall, if the quality is good, then it should still rival that of the manual and various modes that are available in the Galaxy S7's camera. And finally, on the software side of things, you get the latest iteration of TouchWiz on top of Marshmallow, which is stock on the Nexus 6P. Now, the Nexus 6P Android Marshmallow is pretty much what you would expect from a stock iteration. You get Google Now on tap, you get the app drawer, and you get all of the different home screens and elements to be able to just cater the experience to yourself, making it pretty easy for this stock iteration to become your operating system. On the other hand, Samsung has really taken TouchWiz and tried to streamline it, or at the very least, take all of the features that TouchWiz has put into Android and at least put them aside so they're not all up in your face. And all of the features for the most part come back, like the pop-up view, the multi-window, and plenty of the gestures that are available, and they're all under an area that says advanced features. But it's also in here that we got something that was a little bit disconcerting. Getting into the Galaxy Labs option of the advanced features, there's actually an option to put away the app drawer. You can have all of your applications simply on the home screens, and it looks like this is going to be a trend moving forward in Android, and you can see why that might be the case in an article and video that is posted on AndroidAuthority.com. And so there you have it for this quick look at the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the Nexus 6P. These are both very powerful devices coming from respective ecosystems that in the case of Samsung continues a lineage that was started in the Galaxy S6, not only in software design but also in general design. And we do think that we like this refining of what has been a nice change of pace for the Samsung Galaxy line. On the other hand, the Nexus 6P is a simple beast. It is able to bring everything that you need with the bare bones sort of mentality that is in the Nexus, and on top of that, it is still providing the best experience for stock Android users that you can get. So keep in tune to Android Authority for all of this, and also the Galaxy S7 in future reviews and comparisons, as we are going to be getting it soon. And you can subscribe to this channel so that you can keep up with all of that, because we are your source for all things Android.